All right, let's see if we're going, if we're on air. And I think we are live. Hello, everybody. Larnuu here. And today we're going to be doing a little bit of some art streaming. So I've been doing some stream tests for the past little bit, trying to figure out what works, also trying to get some technical kinks ironed out, trying to figure out formatting things all around because I would like to do streaming more periodically, more regularly. However, trying to get a style that's worthwhile for be entertaining for viewers, something to stick around, and also consistent quality. All that stuff. Some things are better fit for that type of content, while other things aren't. For example, I've tried to work on doing some of my game building and programming on stream. That doesn't mesh well with the live stream content. What meshes well though is either gaming content, but that's not super original. Uh you know, just playing video games on live stream, you've seen that before. And is also kind of a little dependent on who's on air with me. Uh so I've been trying to figure out other things that kind of satisfy kind of both being productive and also being interesting to be watching because, truth be told, I want to be making streaming content that now I would actually be interested in watching myself. I wouldn't want to make stuff um that's just garbage online because there's a lot of stuff that I would describe as kind of like filler content on the internet nowadays. Stuff that just feels like, oh yeah, I don't know, I'll watch this because I need something to turn on in the background. Whatever, it's a YouTube video, it doesn't have to be the best thing in the world. All of that, those types of statements, I really just don't. I understand why it exists. I just don't want to make that stuff, even though that's what gets rewarded in this day of age on the internet. Not trying to sound salty, just being realistic about it. So trying to find something that basically hits that happy in between of, what does Larnuu slash Cage, whatever username you want to use, and by username I mean name. um, Trying to find what makes me happy as well as also makes the internet overlords, social media system happy has been a bit tricky. So that's what I've been trying to finagle with a bit. You have to have attentiveness to both what you're doing on camera, but you also have to have attentiveness um to your stream itself, and that's the kind of the problem. It's again, I mentioned before, I tried to do game coding and programming on stream, and while I was really productive in those hours, what happened was that my video feed cut off, and I didn't realize it cut off for a really long time, so the stream was just nothing. Now, if that video didn't cut off, it would have not actually been a terrible thing to have lying around because it was an interesting enough stream of consciousness of sorts. But in you know, you have to see what I'm doing, to actually find any interest in it. If you just see a bunch of, if you just see a black screen with a off air visual that this one right here, if you just see that the entire time, that's literally nothing. No one's gonna watch that. So um let's try to get this going on. So I have my friend IDS5621. He has his character Onipex from this Bionicle stop motion web series he did called The Misadventures of Onipex and Pals. And in my sketchbook, I drew him a little bit. And I decided I wanted to ink it. So we're going to be doing that right here. Let's see. Let's see if we can go to the preferences and edit some of the pen pressure stuff because I don't really like how it's looking right now. So here's the thing. I actually I'll talk a little bit about my drawing my drawing habits in a second. I just want to make sure I can check. You can't see this on camera because it's off air, but um let's see. Let's see if I can get this into brush settings. Um, okay, there you go. Let's make that a little bit more like this. Okay, there you go. That's much more normal of a curve. So we need to turn the pen size down and let's get the stabilization up a little bit. What's good about drawing with stabilization higher than lower is that stabilization, it allows you to, if you do a quick motion, it will go like this, but if you do a slow motion, it will kind of do this dragging thing. So if you try to just like, this is me just like kind of wiggling on screen, the pen, and it kind of goes out slow. But if I have stabilization 0, doing the same exact motion with my hand, it comes out like that. So I typically draw with if I have to draw on the tablet, it's with my stabilization low, and if I ink, I turn that stabilization up very high. So typically though, the older I get, my drawing process transitioned from being something that I would um, do either, I go in waves of either doing everything on digital or everything on analog. As I got older, I realized that the proportions I would get drawing on digital, and the time it took me to spend drawing on digital, I get better results if I just trained myself and got used to drawing on paper. However, my inking on paper was never clean enough and perfect enough to be something I could just scan in. I'm not I don't have like that perfect dexterity that I could be like just a purely traditional artist with like a G pen or or using microns all day and all of that. So what I ended up doing was that I transitioned to doing everything like all the sketches on paper and doing all the final inking on computer. Now, because the computer is more fit for these types of things, like doing the million lines over and over again. And when you try to draw on computer, yeah, I think this is an issue that most people run into. You have these issues with basically scaling because if you draw on paper, you need to get closer, you just move your head closer. When you need to get further away, you move your head further away. And the computer, you zoom in and out. When you're sketching, it's kind of hard to just kind of sketch your full figure on screen without zooming in and out. But what ends up happening is if you draw the character that way, it's really difficult to not run into issues where your proportions are just really wonky. So I get frustrated with that, and um, I end up spending a lot of time trying to correct the proportions when doing so. Problem is, though, that I spend way too much time. I'm already not exactly the quickest artist in the world. There's people out there who could be busting out what I'm doing right here significantly quicker. However, on paper, I have a speed increase and I can get what I want easier on the sketch phase. And in the inking phase, it's just really a matter of just scanning it in and drawing it. So what's unfortunate about that is that unless if I just grab a camera and position it above me, I'm not going to ever do any streams where I'm just sketching, unless if it's just like kind of a goof off. I'm not trying to do any real artwork. But if I'm trying to do real artwork, something that I could actually post on my social media, something that like I'm not gonna have on my Instagram and then archive because I'm like, oh, that looks gross. Um, real stuff. The real stuff, yeah, it's just not going to stick around for if I don't do it this current way I've been doing it. So um let's see, it's just pretty much exactly my struggle drawing digital and traditional. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not the only one on that. I'm glad that Dojo Works is with me on that one. Um, so I guess I could talk a little bit now why I chose to draw this. So number one is that I like just periodically doing drawing challenges. Like I'll be going through phases of like I draw the on my sketchbooks, like I kind of drill the same idea just kind of day in day out, and it kind of looks a little bit psychotic, where you know it sounds ridiculous, but there's a method to the madness where you might see something like, oh, I spent a month straight, and if you look at my sketchbook, my sketches are overwhelmingly like I'll have a book full of just one character. Sometimes it's one character that is my own, and I can have the argument of, well, I'm refining the character design and such. A couple months back, I was doing a lot of sketches of my Sammy character, which you've probably seen if you followed my work long enough. The redhead girl. And she I was tweaking her design because there's a couple stylistic things I wanted to figure out, and my style was going through kind of a like evolution phase. And I also wanted to fix some things on her design because I wasn't completely thrilled with how I was drawing her bangs, because her bangs were kind of reading as not as full of a hairline, or it just looked different to like other people when they interpreted what her hair was than what I was going for. So I was trying to figure out how to get a good balance of simplification, but also kind of more clear communicate kind of like what style she kind of has, which it's a very messy style. A bit of it has a bit of an anime exaggeration to it, but it's also like I have in mind like a very specific early 2000s kind of like if you watched a lot of movies or listened to like pop music at the time, it was a thing that was in fashion at the time. The Sammy character, as she's evolved, is oddly enough been like more or less like kind of emblematic of like a lot of early 2000s aesthetics, and kind of like kind of forward thinking a little bit on there, because I know a lot of people are getting a growing nostalgia for the Y2K thing, but also um it's there's a lot of things I did appreciate at that time that I kind of went away. And if I were to go into the details of it, appreciate, some people might be, might be kind of a little bit of like a Among Us sus, like, what do you mean by appreciate? Because I do have designed the character to be an attractive character, and there were some things that I found that were in style that were particularly attractive to me in the 2000s, and I really wish would come back in fashion. And it's just it sounds funny to kind of say it that way, but no, whatever. You kind of have to own kind of saying sus things at a certain point when you're a artist, because if you're not an artist and you're looking at a bunch of pictures of naked people, what's your excuse? As an illustrator, you do that, your parents come in your room, you're like, no, it's okay, I'm trying to learn how to draw anatomy. And they're like, okay, and then they leave. And then really you're looking at it because you're a little nasty boy. um but yeah, so I kind of got on a tangent on that, but back to my main point though. I draw I do get like repeated illustrative themes. Um and I was one of the themes I kind of was getting hung up on was my Sammy character in the past, and other times too it can be other things. Oftentimes I will draw Sonic as like a warm up, and if my warm up isn't going so well, then I'll draw Sonic for a period of time over and over again. And I like doing Sonic specifically because there's just like a specific, like, I know what looks right and what doesn't look right with the character. There's like less, since I didn't design them, there's kind of more of like a explicit, like, that's the right way, that's the wrong way sort of thing with them. uh if it's my own character, there's more wiggle room. So and also I feel like Sonic specifically as a design gets a little bit more he's less forgiving in there. It's like more of a tightrope walk in that regard. I also do draw Amy a bit as well, because I feel like she has like a lot of the similar elements to Sonic, but at the same time is also the girl. And truth be told, sometimes you want to you're more inclined to be drawing one body type more than the others. And sometimes I want to practice drawing dudes, and sometimes I want to practice drawing women. um but I will say also, in general, like, my favorite things to draw are typically women and little funny cartoon characters because you tend to deal with the more fun shapes. Because with women you get like a lot more curves and you emphasize kind of more flowing lines, and with cartoon characters you get to have certain types of exaggerations. Trying to figure out how to draw guides, it's something I wish I could draw, like action figure, like, you know, comic book hero type stuff, but just like at a certain point when I start drawing it, I just kind of, yeah, I'm like, I'm not as good at it, and I'm also not having as much fun. So but I also have to acknowledge some of my skill developed from me not enforcing enough of my own illustration abilities. So um yeah, sometimes you need to draw things that aren't particularly fun. Dojo Works asked, I haven't oh, so he said he hasn't watched a Frontiers animation thing. Honestly, that the Sonic Frontiers animation that Sega dropped, that it's like a short film with Knuckles in it. Um that short animation kind of made me think about some of the anime stuff, because it's drawn kind of a little bit more along the lines it has like more anime aesthetics and elements in it compared to some of the other shorts that the YouTube channels made in promotion for some of their video games. And I really liked the color choices in it. And I'm gonna later, when I get to the coloring phase, I am gonna start I'm gonna use some of the color palette from that short for this Onipex here, which, you know, now I need to kind of just fast forward to some of my points because I sidetracked myself. But with sometimes when I do the drawing, I will draw the kind of do the deja vu madness, repeat cycle drawing. But then I will also periodically do a second type of illustration, which I refers to kind of just like out of the box stuff. Yeah, I will. If I'm drawing too much of the same stuff, I actively just spend a session to just draw things I typically don't draw. It's like I usually it devolves into kind of like ugly illustration, so I kind of refer to it as kind of like an ugly art day rather than a Yeah, so usually then it's like I'm usually drawing like more distorted faces. And as funny as that sounds, the ugly art is actually sincerely a really good exercise, and I would recommend it to anybody who's trying to practice different stylizations or cartooning. Because when you push yourself in that direction, you got to think about things differently than when you do when you make things appealing. And sometimes to make something ugly, you have to bring emphasis to something or you have to find a new way of drawing something that you would draw kind of the same a million times if you're trying to make it appealing, you know? A good example is that if I was to try to make I'm trying to think that I feel like I got better with. Eyes, I guess, is a decent example. So I've gotten more comfortable at drawing different types of eye shapes over time, while before it was kind of just like little black dots, or kind of like my variant or corruption, whatever word you want to refer to it as, of kind of like the Dragon Ball Goku eyeball. So I would do that kind of as like a default for my eyes. However, when I started drawing ugly stuff, I got more experimental with how I was drawing eyeballs. So um, now when I do things that aren't supposed to be, like explicitly ugly art, sometimes I actually would whip out an eyeball style design shape that I founded when I was drawing a kind of, if for lack of better terms, bad on purpose, or going for kind of a weird specific texture that I wouldn't typically want to use, but periodically I think it has a specific look and emotion. A great example of this, like of something that's kind of like a little bit more of the nuanced thing, less black and white, well, is a good or bad thing, is the Fatal Fury OVA art style. Because that art style, I would say, like if you ask 90% of people, it's like kind of like maybe two 90s anime, and it's like has like a lot of really weird things going on. Like um it's supposed to be for like a fighting game, but it's but then some of the proportions are so wonky that you're kind of like, that's not a dude, that's a chick. Um, but and there's like a lot of really weird intricacies with it, but I also don't entirely hate the style, and it's something that gives like a very specific emotion. So periodically, like I will try to draw something like that because it's like I kind of wanted to figure out kind of like what elements are kind of making it tick. So just to kind of expand the vocabulary. But if it was like, Cage, would you make a video game that would look like this? I would say no, because people would hate it. If I did that, everybody would be like, oh, the art style is a bad art style. So, you know, you gotta do what's for the masses, and then you gotta do like kind of the niche esoteric stuff because you're an artist and you're an art weirdo, and you're gonna read into something too deep. So let's see. Okay, so I'm going to check the chat real quick just to see if there's anything here. Nope, nothing there. Okay, so right here I'm drawing the Onipex character from IDS's Misadventures of Onipex and Palette series, and I kind of wanted to do it with a little bit more of a anime texture and vibe than I typically draw with. So I um am doing this. I'm going to start kind of getting these like general lines in here. What's good about Clip Studio Paint is that there's certain tools where I can do some fine adjustments later. I kind of got into the weeds and a little distracted about certain things, but now I have enough of a rough line work to work with, and now I'm just going to do elements like doubling the lines here, as well as also um, messing around with kind of some of the shading elements. I think there's some stuff that maybe I might be making a little too thick, but this is where we're going to start messing around with the Clip Studio magic. See, over here, look, the lines are getting thinner. Now, of course, I'm doubled some of the lines in a way that, doing this, it kind of makes it look off. But, if you want to do this versus what I had up at, which was at 6, um, real anime typically would do kind of maybe something closer to here. Um, yeah, let's yeah, even if it's a little thicker, I think I'm just gonna flub it and do it this way because I'm kind of liking how that looks more just in general. Um, so now I'm going to kind of pull up some references to kind of get some of the detailed line elements in here in a second, but I'm just going to do the stuff that I just know for a fact that I need to correct first. So to give content to this, I guess I'll talk a little bit about how I met IDS 5621 and kind of my whole history with them. So first off is that IDS is legitimately like straight up like actually one of my best friends. Like I've known him for years. He's closer than like, some actual family members to me. Like, I like like he's, important to me enough that like I would legitimately consider him honestly more family than a friend at this point. But he and I go pretty far back. So originally I knew of him before he knew of me, and around 2010 I got into doing the Bionicle animation stuff, and when I did that, I IDS's videos were like one of the guys that I found, and when I found it, his stuff was honestly like, after I went at like what was considered the surface level, like, okay, yeah, obviously you're going to see him first like in the algorithm, and instead you're trying to do deep dives to find new people. IDS's stuff was the stuff that really clicked for me. How I found him was really through iBionicle, actually. So I was watching some of Bionicle videos, and then in his recommendation there was the Onipex and Pals thing, and somehow or another I found out that he was voicing the main character for this other stop motion thing. So I watched it because I liked Bionicle videos, and then I watched the Onipex and Pals things, and I realized, oh, these are actually legitimately really good by themselves. It's like they're actually the best videos. It's interesting because at the time I strongly felt like, and I still feel this way too, but it's like Bionicle definitively had the best animation of the time, but IDS had the best writing and pacing. Yeah, because first off, he was really trying to actually take writing videos more kind of like skit based, and more like a sitcom compared to anybody else at the time. After his thing came out, everybody tried to do Bionicle sitcoms and animation stuff. I mean, hell, it's not like my Gakuno series is pretty transparently inspired by what Pex and Pals started. So we so I followed it for a while, and he definitely was the trendsetter in that regard, which as an aside, actually IDS has had a lot of trend setting moments that he's not always prescribed the credit for, but then again, it's also damn Bionicle community. It's like, like, do you really need like all this like accolades in the fandom thing? It seems kind of a little ridiculous, especially in kind of like this something for like a Lego franchise. But at the same time though, it's oddly enough, as ridiculous as it sounds, it's actually something that does periodically crop its head. Like, so many people have like taken elements from certain mock designs he's done and just kind of didn't give him credit for it, but he pioneered like so many crazy different building techniques that and I think like the biggest ones, like aside from just like explicit like direct like oh, let me use this like like design for like maybe because he's done like a lot of like Bionicle Miramax film accurate mocks, and a lot of people take pieces from it, and sometimes they credit him and sometimes they don't credit him for like certain parts that he figured out how to translate into actual Lego pieces. But what he the other thing that he doesn't get enough credit for is that he figured out basically, oh, you can use the slicer bodies and turn and make Matoran using the slicer piece as a torso piece. Because yeah, sure, the slicer torso were originally its like own thing, but honestly speaking, like as somebody who owned those pieces for years before IDS came about, I always found those pieces kind of useless and just kind of kept it around because I never wanted to throw out any of my Bionicle pieces. But then he came along and everybody was like, wow, finally just a design that you can just make a bunch of like appealing looking, surprisingly flexible Matoran with. Trying to see the big thing I'm running into here is that I need to figure out how much more I need to actually draw and how much I need to imply. Because that's a big thing you can run into with illustration, specifically like more with Eastern styles and Western styles, is that there's a lot you kind of have to imply rather than explicitly show. And Eastern style drawing like really likes that implication in that regard to a greater degree than the Western stuff does. So let's see. Yeah, so kind of back on track on how I met IDS. We met him I met him like online, like in voice calls, like a good while after I knew about him. Like I'm jumping ahead actually. So yeah, I gotta recall it's been it's been a while. So okay, so when I started doing my videos, I did them for a while, and then I decided I wanted to try to grow my channel. And one of the things that I wanted to grow my channel with was getting voice actors that had bigger followings on my projects. So one thing I was going to do was I was going to do this Transformers animated parody thing, just kind of like a thing that was a parody of Michael Bay's Transformers, but just kind of like a highlight thing. Honestly, kind of similar to kind of like there's like actually a lot of YouTube channels I can think of right now that I'm kind of getting stifled on who would be best compared to, but similar to some of the stuff you'd see with how it should have ended, um, or uh, I don't know, even see, the thing is, it's just kind of like really emblematic of like YouTube like parody stuff at the time. Like, I could have even said like, oh, it's like kind of a little bit like a bridge series stuff, or it's kind of similar to some of the stuff you were seeing on our channel. Awesome. Like, I could say this or that, but um the point being is pretty of the time, like, what every, like box standard, like movie parody type content, and parody Michael Bay's Transformers, doing jokes that weren't exactly the most original in the world. Um, anyway, so I was going to get a bunch of biotubers to do the voice acting for it, and I was getting ideas to actually voice Jazz in the parody thing, and I was going to get other people to do it, like Byrock, I think, was involved with it. Bionicle, Edic Arts. Like, basically, I pointed out to anybody of that time period who made Bionicle videos that had like over 1,000 subscribers. I had them as like a role in it, because remember, back then 1,000 subscribers actually was the big number. Anyways, so I uh I sent out stuff. I got some responses. Some people didn't respond. Some people responded. But the only person who followed through and actually got their stuff was uh IDS's stuff. And I didn't really push through further too, because like I kind of looked back at the script. Yeah, and I was thinking, oh man, no one's responding. And then I'm like, well, the script also sucks. So what should I do with it? I guess I'm not gonna make that video. So I kind of just ignored that no one else responded. Ironically enough, half of the people I emailed for that project later, I would be have had them voice in a video one way or another. Like, they've would have like found their ways into like Gak and Rio, or maybe like or like one of my other larger projects, like that show Bill Wright, when I released that animation, slash pilot for a series that I was like, that was too much work, I'm never doing that again. So what happened was IDS was the one who fell through. So, and I was like, I have these audios from IDS 5621. I need to do something with them. I sat on them for a couple months, and then I decided to do an animation called Soda Bar, which actually features like the debut of like the Denix character that would later appear in the Gak and Rio series. And which, side note, was in reference to kind of like a reference thing to IDS's Garen character, which and a long list of things that people kind of knock off from IDS. For some reason, Garen is like the one element that everybody puts in their like Onipex and Pals derivative show, or put in their Onipex and Pals derivative show. My excuse for putting Garen in my Bionicle sitcom was that I had the guy who made the character, and I originally made the Denix character a reference in this side short. And then I was like, hey, I'm doing this series. Hey, IDS, do you want to be a part of it? He was like, sure. I'm like, okay, let's use this character you already voiced for. Kind of forgetting, oh wait, I made him to kind of be a reference to his other character stuff. So there's a reason why Denix didn't appear in season 2 of Gak and Rio. So there's just a lot of me not thinking forward a whole lot because I was a kid. So I made the Soda Bar animation, and I wrote the script entirely around IDS's sound bites that were for another script. And then we started talking a bit, and I was like, hey, can I make an Onipex and Pals fan episode with you voicing in it? He said, go for it. We started talking more, and then eventually, he's just like, "Okay, man, quit trying to have conversations with me on the YouTube, like in application, instant messenger or private messenger. Just get Skype, talk to me on Skype." Did that, started talking on Skype. Actually, the first time I talked to him on Skype, Caleb was in the call too, and I met him, Caleb, through my first time talking to, IDS on voice chat, and Yeah, ever since then, the two have been, really good friends of mine. And yeah, so in short, if anybody asks for the Caleb origin story, the Caleb and me origin story literally is tied to, me meeting at IDS. It's, how I met him. I got in a call with IDS, and he was there in my first call with IDS. um anyway, so you just kind of kept in contact, and kept working on things, and then just uh yeah, we just ended up just sticking around, and just staying friends because we just got along. At times, honestly, fucking wonder why he hangs out with me, because he's so much cooler than I am. But um yeah, it is what it is. Because I mean, like, really, if you actually know, like, about IDS's life, like, dude's like a proper Chad. Like, he has like this whole thing where he's like has this charisma that works on everybody he meets, and everybody just likes him. And he's definitely more yeah, he's involved with more things that I would probably say, like, maybe a little bit more typical. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it without basically, being like, "Ugh, I'm a damn incel." But, IDS. What does he do for a hobby? He hits the gym. What does Cage do for a hobby? Video game, Sonic. You know, what does it's I'm kind of a bit more of like an introvert. I'm not really, super social, while IDS, in stark contrast, is a very, outwardly social guy, and yeah, has like a active friend and social group. So um in real life, well, for me, I'm not saying this in like a bad way, but truth be told, I don't have like the largest social network, and I don't talk and hang out with people as much IRL. Like, and he go to a bar every week. I go to a bar like maybe once every 2 months. um not not going to try to exaggerate and act like, oh, I got nothing going on, but but the truth is that, uh if you were to put into like, if you were to make like an alpha, sigma meme sort of thing, like, IDS is filling a lot of those requirements in there, while I'm kind of, not fulfilling those traditional requirements. um we're gonna kind of crop the like mask out some of the things a little bit, so I'm okay with some of the walkiness there. It's really the head that's the most important part here. um see, really hope that my chewing gum isn't killing the live stream, because I do chew gum a lot, actually. Like, um it's one of the main things that helps me with weight loss stuff, because I will admit I'm a pretty big snack person, or eating person. Like, I I need my foods. We'll just save that detail for when we do this. Okay, so let's do something a little wild that Clip Studio can do. So there you go. That's kind of how it's looking right now. The arms are a bit wonky. Maybe could stand a little bit more details, but we'll worry about that after the important part, which is the head. Image. I'm looking on things that you can't see on a screen because they're smaller tab stuff, probably. Yeah, you cannot see it. So, image, file, edit. Oh, okay. Can't change image size and resolution. Let's bump it up a fourth of what it previously is. So that's good. Um, so one thing that I like about Clip Studio, hopefully this thing doesn't. Yep. Okay. Cool. It worked. Okay. So one thing I like about Clip Studio is, again, so I'm drawing with vectors rather than and then just straight up raster for the line work. And Clip Studio has a system that's good for that that gives you like a hybrid between raster and vector drawing. And I haven't been able to find something quite like it in other programs because it gives you like it draws them on screen as like vectors, but it gives you the I mean, it draws them as rasters, but it gives you some of the positives you get with vectors, where it's like you get the flexibility of changing things afterwards. So you get like all the texture that it's hard to get in raster, in vector. Sorry, I'm getting confused, but basically, pixels, texture, vector, smooth, but more flexible. This thing bridges the two together in this weird hybrid system. There you go. I said the thing. Okay, let's bring up that Sonic Frontier short now because they had a good palette and also could use it for reference for shading. So we're going to pull up this frame here with the Knight's Chow, because that little thing has a good palette that most of Onipex's colors belong with. So we're going to do the flat bases first. And we'll do it like this just to folder everything up. Let's pull up the chat a little bit to see if anybody is talking, and if not, this is just a good posted video. Look who's that. Okay, got the I noticed it says Angry Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Excuse me, but the phrase is skinny pink lump. So yeah, I'm assuming everybody here knows about IDS's work because it's just it kind of be a little weird if they didn't and they were looking at this channel, because typically at least I assume the food chain of kind of like popularity, at least nowadays, goes is like obviously about Caleb. And if you know about Caleb and me from Caleb, you know about IDS at the same time, and also there's a chance that since X and Pals was the more popular of the two web shows between that and Gakuen Rio back in the day, chances are you were more of a you were an Onipex fan before you start watching this stuff. So I mean my stuff. Sorry. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we'll do it this way and just flip the layers. There you go. Beep up boom. The world's happy. Everybody eats. Whatever the phrase is. Oh, you know what? I screwed up how I wanted to do the eye colors. It seems like. Okay, so is this how I want to do it, or was it like this? I'm gonna take a second to remember what I was doing wanted to do for it. That didn't look as right. I could do it this way. I could do this. Yeah, rubber my yellow, black there. I mean, that's kind of like the Yu-Gi-Oh style eyeball, but I feel like I'm not gonna get as much detail if I do it that way. Let's see. We'll do it like this, and we'll just keep it like this for now for the thing. And we'll do like the shading thing later. Actually, I could just do it now just to kind of get it out of the way. It's the eyeballs. If you can break kind of shading process a little bit with the eyes, because the eyes tend to follow atypical shadings in most art styles. There's this close-up shot of Knuckles that's really cool in this short that I liked how they drew the eyes in it. It's like extreme close-up, so I'm gonna try to take some elements of that in there here. So I was able to get like some reflectivity in there. So Let's see. So, Onipex and Pals. I started watching it around episode 1, I would say. Um, I don't. I can't remember if it was already out, or if it was like on teaser for it to be out. But I yeah, I know I definitely was like one of the show's earliest fans and biggest fans too, consistently so actually, like to the point where like it's IDS's project, so ultimately I am respectful of it, and I'm not gonna try to do anything like I definitely try not to like kind of overstep my lines because it's my friend's thing, not my thing. But um I've openly said that I would be down with doing like really anything Olympics related, or like anything to kind of like bring it, update it and bring it back, because I sincerely um believe that there's a lot there, and I don't think it's just me being like as like just like a Bionicle fan or like blinded thing. Like um I see like there's a lot that could be done with it and updated. Let's see. Um it's just gonna drive me crazy with the way I'm gonna draw it here. I'm sorry, gonna redo this. Let's show you this trick here. All right, so we're going to make a quick derail for a Clip Studio Paint tutorial thing, rather than me talking about and gushing about like basically my my affection for this obscure web cartoon. So I highlight. So basically, here we go. We have this thing where we colored the red here, but now I clipped the layers. Clipping layers basically makes it like does this masking process. So anything drawn like above it is on its own layer, and it's not going to be it just doesn't go past the red that I put there. So we're going to put the dark and we're going to have the light here, and then we're just going to erase some of the clipping stuff there. And doing it this way, I don't have to worry about drawing over the lines or anything like that. That being said, that didn't look terrible actually. That does give me an idea. Okay, so we're going to do this left eyeball here first, or right, whatever. Who cares about directions in this world? We're going to do this eyeball first. Then we're going to do the other eyeball. Let's see if they shit colors. Okay, so that's darker, that's lighter. So, and then we also have then we have this thing here. Let's just do this highlight here because I thought that looks good. Okay, there we go. Now, darker, lighter. Okay, so this drawing I'm referencing off screen, it goes dark at the top and then it gets lighter at the bottom. So we do dark here. Okay, and then light here. All right, so we have that. Now let's get some texture in here. Also, I feel like that dark was almost black, actually. So we might need to bump this color down a little bit. Tonal correction, brightness and contrast. Turn the brightness down. There we go. Jojo Works asks, what social is the best one to follow? Nowadays, I typically use Instagram the most. It's not my favorite out there, but it's just yeah, it's the Instagram Cage Can Be. I granted now I am more active on like kind of group stuff. So like I do, oh crap, this thing is doing this infinite pinwheel loading thing. Hopefully it's not going to crash. Okay, so basically for me, like independent stuff that I'm just having fun, not working on trying to make anything that I would just kind of would put on a portfolio or anything like that. I have like a personal Instagram that I use, and by personal I mean like I share enough openly about like what everything I do, so it's not really um so it's like half of it is work and half of it's personal. It's not just like, hey, here's a picture of me with my friends. Like I barely, I don't really use it that way. But that but like in terms of like other things, like most of my like project work stuff, I do under the punk stuff. Damn it, I missed a mosquito that was flying towards me. Um, but I have like a social I'm active on. Hold on a second. That might look better. Yeah, let's do it that way. Um, Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah, so I mostly interact with people like it's just Instagram is usually just what I use for like the Larnuu stuff nowadays. Uh, it Twitter just is really like I just don't like Twitter. I've tried using it for a period of time. I don't like it. Sadly, I hate to confess, but I was unfortunately a Tumblr user for a period of time in my life. But when I realized like where that ship was headed, I bailed hard on it. So yeah, um, I was off of Tumblr before they banned the other content on Tumblr. Just so you know, like I just was really not liking the direction the site was headed, and I actually am in the small fringe group of people who actually um, will say that it's like a lot of people are was like this that basically I'm trying to figure out how to say this correctly. So moderation like moderation on that site was really bad. A lot of things that should have not been on the site wasn't available. I am actually hypercritical of most social media platforms because a lot of things that they could basically do because they have a lot more like access on your information than they will let on, but they are kind of silent about it to stop actual real problems, and they just kind of want to have it because they want to sell advertisers um a uh advertisers basically ad packages. That's what they want to do. So they don't really care about safety or anything like that. But if they did, they have all the tools. They your device is wiretapped. It's bugged. They could be doing all that stuff if they wanted, but they don't. Tumblr though is worse than like Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. Draw Lego Exo Force draw. Pretty please. Maybe I might do that after this Onipex. I've been kind of spending quite a bit. Yeah, this stream's probably going to end up being this Onipex and maybe a Sonic, but definitely this Onipex. Okay, so I think the scan line pattern is probably the best for the coloring, so we'll probably just go with that for the whole shebang. Uh, it's actually a pretty easy pattern, so that's nice. Bit of trial and error on this one because I'm drawing some things that I'm not as comfortable with drawing. Okay. Bebop. There you go. That's yeah, actually it looks not bad. Not bad. Okay, time to do the other eyeball. Okay. Yeah, come on. G. Refer to other layers. There you go. And then we will do this one. Um all right. There we go. Those are the eyeballs. Now time to get the rest of the body done. Um, yeah. Let's see. I was talking about something. Can't fully remember what I was talking about. I will babble about kind of, I guess, Sonic Frontiers hype a little bit until I get a good topic suggestion in chat. So, um, yeah, Sonic Frontiers. It's weird, man. From my perspective, actually, it feels like it's been like some people say it feels like it's been forever, but things have been going crazy is like in my life. So it's like when people said Sonic Frontiers is out here, it's like and IGN review was so forever ago. I'm like that felt like last week to me. um, so, yeah, it's not good when somebody says that was forever ago, and you're like, that was damn forever ago. It's I don't like that. That's uh, definition is changing and relative. But um, what are my thoughts on kind of my anticipation? So, I will admit that it is taking influence off of styles of games that I'm less I play less. So that kind of has a little bit of like concern for me because I'm like, okay, they're definitely trying to do something new with Sonic. That can be good, but that also like, I my biggest fear with Sonic Frontiers is that basically it's a game that everybody loves, but then it's you say like hey Cage, do you love Sonic Frontiers? I'm like not really, I don't like it, and because just more so due to personal tastes and gaming styles rather than anything else. Because again, it's like I'm hoping it's not as Ubisoft based as maybe like I'm concerned with it being because there's like certain comparisons, and I'll be honest with you, Assassin's Creed, like that's like one series like I've tried multiple times, but I just drop every single game I pick up with it, and I feel like I wasted my money each time I purchased an Assassin's Creed. It just um yeah, it's just like I really can't get into it. I get that everybody's like Black Flag is amazing, but I honestly hated it. I can't get into it at all. Um, but there's enough there that makes me hopefully like I'm like um even if it's like my Sonic gamer brain rot is even though it might be a little bit present. Yeah, basically like I think there might be enough to satisfy that side, but it's oh boy. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just it's that part's got me concerned a little bit. But in terms of like the how things are looking, like I'm excited for the combat. I'm excited for the um I'm excited for how uh the the story mode is looking because that is seeing a story mode that in a Sonic game that I would actually describe as writing. Ah, man, that sounds so frustrated and typical Sonic fanny, but yeah, no, I mean like I didn't like the meta era of stories really at all. I think Colors is what the franchise needed at its time, but like literally anything aside from Colors, it's a waste of time. It's and when you look into how much work and time goes into making a video game, it does actually frustrate me that more games don't prioritize their story better or take more time with it because I'm like, fuck, man, you're just doing all this work for this and you're not going to try to make the script a little bit better. It's, it really just, I feel like games in general kind of don't really, do a good job at making sure that they get valued correctly. Like they get definitely undervalued as a medium, and I don't feel like they really helped their case a whole lot um, at times either. Like the free to play model, I really actually hate how the free to play has become like a thing for the games industry because I feel like it's actually damaged games more than it's actually helped them. Because uh, now and like a lot of people who don't play video games are thinking let's hop into making games, they'll just there's so many people I've worked with in the space that don't really that realize like Hey, yeah, I know Fortnite. Then it's free. You didn't have to pay money for it. But then it wasn't free to make. It was actually a shit ton to make. It's really expensive to make. And then you have people who consume the games too, and since they're so used to, paying for, remember Mario 3 was basically 50 bucks, and that was like not even, and that's not taking into account 80s inflation. It was it's a top pretty high paying game, but then games didn't really change their prices a whole lot as time went on, compared to what their original asking price was. And yeah, long story short, it's just video. Sorry, I'm doing a bad job explaining it, but hopefully the point's coming across that um, video games are a lot of work. They're not entirely impossible, mind you, but people definitely misunderstand them. There's a lot of like armchair people who try to claim that they understand what's going on with it, but when you actually sit down and actually make one, you realize that basically a lot of misconceptions get cleared up very quickly. And actually, let's do this for the hatch lines. Yeah, I don't. It is frustrating that. Um, darn it, I kind of forgot why I was on that tangent. I'm sorry. That looks kind of embarrassing. Because I got distracted by what I was doing instead of what I was saying. That's beautiful. Good job, Cage. Good job. uh, yeah. Let's just do it this way. This is the complete hacky way of doing it, but we don't care. We do not care. Multiply. Normal. Normal. Full thing. Now we will do this white here. You'll see what I'm doing here. This is a pro gamer move. Then we'll talk about things, but um point I was getting at is it's like it didn't really necessarily feel like the people who were um writing for the games were taking the game work as seriously as they should have. Especially when you realize like basically how much goes into those titles. And darn it, I actually messed that up big time. So we do over. Um, Multiply normal. Okay. See, this is the reason why, like, I will say the streaming thing. Like, I've been trying to figure it out, but like I feel like I did pretty good for the most part, but then just like these last 5 seconds or a minute or so just slipped because I had to focus, and then I realized I did something wrong while I was also making a big point. That culmination of stuff kind of makes me go, ugh, I want to delete this whole entire live stream, even though most of it was pretty good. Just that one little section makes me go, I do not want it to be around anymore. That was embarrassing. That was a failure. Even though it's just like a couple of 5 seconds, you're supposed to talk hours and hours and hours, and then those 5 seconds don't work. And some people might be like, "Oh, you're being too hard on yourself," but no, because these are the standards I hold other people to. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't like how a lot of things have gone towards live streaming. There's people out there that really like their content, but then the second they start doing this live streaming stuff, I'm like, ugh, I really wish you didn't do that. Um, there you go. That's like the hatching stuff I wanted to do. We'll name that hatching. And that's, no, oops, wrong thing. Actually, why not? So, um, yeah, whatever. Um, yeah, so I don't like a whole lot of live streaming content, honestly, because of the dead air that comes in with it. I know that there's like a lot of things that people will make defense for streamers and all that stuff, but also find like the streaming culture stuff really annoying and kind of, I don't know, it's a really big turnoff. So I'll be straight up like, and I get that it sounds kind of like, maybe a little cringe for like, somebody who's just, not, you know, in the space doing something, and then I'm going to just, donk on something. But Hassan Piker, for example, it really does irk me how much that, like, that like that's actually considered entertainment, because he there's just like this thing where it's just like the content's just not engaging to me at all. And then like whenever people voice his opinions, he has this hyper defensiveness with it. And then that hyper defensiveness makes me just, just makes you look like just a giant grown, like, spoiled toddler. And it's honestly really beta behavior. I don't like saying like the alpha beta talk stuff, because it's just whatever. Don't want to get stigmatized, and also it's might mean certain things to other people, but it's really all that can be explained with it, because I mean, like, part of his gimmick is, oh hey, I have like big muscles I work out. Yeah, I'm kind of like I'm the leftless commie Chad, but then he also will have throw these like actual childish temperature tantrums, and that's what they are. You can't, argue as them anything else but a temper tantrum. And the lack of calm rationality he'll have, even though he's somebody that's promoted in political spaces, Young Turks connections and all that stuff. And then he just, he'll throw a tizzy about it. He'll just do all these things. Say what you want about the Sam Hyde stuff, but like the way he reacted to anybody asking about the Sam Hyde thing just really makes him look bad. And it's where's the rationale in there? Where's the calmness in there? You know, um, it just doesn't seem like it's somebody who wants to actually think about things, but just more or less just wants to run around and act like a gorilla. And it's maybe that's fine, but if you want to just be like a meathead, but there's definitely like that part of Hassan that's presented as an intellectual, and he's not full blown like caveman brains stuff. Yeah. Let's check the chat. So, Shadow Hedgehog 2 is the key to all of this. Unironically, I would actually want a second Shadow game. I would want it to do a lot of differences, but I do want like a second chance at another Shadow spinoff, or really any Sonic spinoff. If I actually had the opportunity to, like, work on any like Sonic game project ever, like legitimately, what I would be trying to pitch Sega would be a another Chaotix game, like not in the same style, but just like I would, of course, I'd have to go to the drawing board to design exactly what I would want to do with it, but I would want it to be a game starring Team Chaotix, and to kind of just give them their own like solo adventure, maybe like kind of like a smaller mystery thing, not smaller scales, kind of like what these guys do, while Sonic Tails and like all of his other friends save the world. So it's less of a big deal in the overall canon, but you do get to see this other side, and you get to use these characters that I consider the most underutilized characters in the canon, because I mean they brought them back in Sonic Heroes and then they kind of just didn't use them again, and I'm like, ugh. So opinions on the state of Lego, in the sense the majority presence of licensed, in the sense the majority presence of licensings compared to the almost non-existent presence of original Lego themes. So Lego is a toy about creativity, and part of that creativity definitely was like helped communicated with their original IP. So it does confuse me why Lego doesn't really want to fully embrace it. I get like original IP is expensive and all that stuff, but it's more advantageous from them from a business sense because they don't have to pay licensing fees at all if they own the license, the product. If anything, it's like with if they get a successful thing like Ninjago or Bionicle, and now people like it, people will be like, hey, we want to put them on a T-shirt. Okay, well, guess what? Lego is now getting paid by another company, not the other way around. So there's the flipping the script, and also there's just like in the overall entertainment media world, it just really feels like that there's like a certain level of a content drought. Like not enough people are have ideas that are being made, uh, and it just is a really confusing and bad like long term play. It feels like for Lego, it really feels like that if Lego was able to change some of their trajectory now, they would be able to like use this old wave and these old trends and get the best of it. But the way things are headed, man, I think that Lego's going to experience like a really bad you know crash, whiplash, whatever you want to refer to it as. But they're going to get kicked into teeth at some point down the road. You know, uh, no cap, no keysy, as they would say. Like I don't like it from a fan perspective, but from business sense perspective, that part I would argue is actually a more confusing part than the than them for their lack of embracement of original IP. Like I don't understand what their um the long term play is. It just um because they're pandering hard to like kind of the collectible market stuff, and then they're also hitching their bandwagon a lot to like Hollywood. Hollywood is drying up. Hollywood, a big bunch of Hollywood stuff is dying out. You know, the MCU is gonna flop, and it's gonna it's dying. And I get that. Maybe they might have like one or two good punches left in them, but yeah, at a certain point, it's gonna get to this thing where no one's paying attention to it. I mean, Star Wars line really feels like that Star Wars really only appeals to the collectors, people who collect like a Star Wars specifically. Hell, I even argue that a lot of people who pay attention to Lego Star Wars, it doesn't feel like they even like the like the original things. Like they want the sets for it. They might be all like, yeah, no, the Last Jedi bad movie, but this ship design was really cool, and I can't wait for the Lego version of that ship to come out. Now that's it. It's like that's not very sustainable. It's not going to work for a long time, and I it's hmm. Sorry again, I'm getting distracted by the illustration requirements of brain focus. I would make sure I be on stream with other people when I do this stuff, and usually that's why doing streams with other people is a good idea because you avoid situations like the one I'm in currently. But I just um I just don't have anybody that that was available who I'd want to hop on with right now. It's like other people are kind of busy right now, and I, at least for the time being, I just didn't feel up to just hopping on like the public server for conversation. Uh, and I didn't want to risk being put in a situation where I was in chat with somebody who I didn't have the best chemistry with, because a lot of the chemistry you have with people on stream is vital to if or if not it's gonna work. Um, Gotta get that little rim light here. This is gonna be an early Christmas present with how much I'm spending time on this drawing. Holy crap. Holy crap, Lois. Yeah, the Avatar stuff is so it's like James Cameron's Avatar thing, like if we want to talk about that, that's like uh a whole nother rabbit hole that would be better to go into at another time because my brother, has kept up more with that stuff and uh he can give you the ins and outs on it. But the TLDR, my memory version of how he explained it is the following. So Avatar was really successful and basically, hit like ticked all the checks marks is that, you really it needed for the business world. And basically, yeah, it's like people kept on putting money onto it because there he was able to make um, you know, a case to a bunch of business guys, and he had enough of a presentation and evidence to back up the promise of money. So it's basically being like, you invest in this and you'll make out money and when the movies come out. Thing is, it's taking forever for the movies to come out, but James Cameron, like, if he played everything the way I think he did, basically he made his bank, he made his money, he has the Gitas. Basically, like, these movies don't even need to do well for James Cameron to make it out. Now, his investors really need it, and his maybe any future career that James Cameron has. But at the same time, what do you think James Cameron's really going to work after these things? I mean, I'd be surprised if he did. I mean, like, crap, he's been, it's like you could probably just spend the rest of his time and money being an ocean man. So let's do this. I gotta try to figure out some color layering stuff to get the result I want. Okay. Yeah, shit. All right, I guess I'm gonna hit Control Z too because that's just gonna be a mess for me later. I mean, the FX face is not bad. Um, it's definitely getting there. Um, the body, I mean, like we'll just crop the body out a bit to make it look good. Just need to get that second layer of shadows to work to look good. What direction was my shading? I guess it's the right. Yeah, so it's the right. Yeah, refer to other layers, man. Right. Just do that, and then we do that. So layering, cool. Hold on a second. My highlights and my shadows, they're kind of going the same direction, aren't they? Yeah, here we go. Hey, that fixes it. And we also do that because that's a highlight thing, the rim light element. So, okay, I might have to fix some of the other lines later. Yeah, hold on a second. Okay. Yeah, so this is the part where we start getting into like what I like to refer to as kind of like the tower of cards thing because it's I like working in one shot. I don't like taking a bunch of breaks and returning to something later. I can work like some of the Europeans out there. They work a little bit and then they they take a break and then they work a little bit and take a break. I have to stand up every hour and to stretch and all that. For me, my dumb American caveman brain, I'm all like, I have to do everything in one stretch, and then I get really tired at the end because I just spend up all my energy, and then I go and sit on the couch and I grab myself a brewski. That is the American dream, and that's how Americans work. Um, that's my issue though, is that um I'm going to try to do all that stuff, all that work, and I sometimes hit this fatigue point, and I'm trying to make sure I don't screw up my drawing there. Also, there's other things too. My allergies are going off right now. My nose is itching like crazy. Um, uh, yeah, I need to drink water. I haven't eaten dinner yet. Just all these things. All these things that just makes you just sound miserable and childish if you verbalize them, but you think it in the back of your head. So, as a man, you have to ignore admitting any of these, but you know, can you deny these? It's not wise too. It's not the wisest. Okay, that side mouthing is kind of not gonna make that work a whole lot. So we do it this way. Let's do that a little bit, and then we do this a little bit. I was hoping to get to like one of the Sonic drawings today, but I guess I'm not. Um, I guess I can talk a little bit about my graphics tablet I currently use. So I use a Huion Canvas 13. Uh, I like it quite a bit. It's not the best tablet in the world, but it is a solid budget tablet. So I would recommend it if you're somebody who wants to do the illustration stuff, but doesn't want to break the bank on it, and you're using a computer. Has some features in it that are useful for other things, such as if you hold on a second, tension's getting divided again. Oh no. Um, let's do it this way, and then we'll just darken that part later. So don't do that right now. I'm focusing. Things doing. Computer was doing something weird that I can't off camera. So yeah, Daheon 13, pretty good sensor. You do kind of fuss with the drivers a little bit. Like how I'm also fussing with this color picker icon tool that keeps on happening when I tap things on screen. It is compatible with Android phones, so that is actually a plus. If you have USB-C Android port on your phone, which if you're not a dinosaur, who if you're a normal person, you would actually have it. You can use the phone. You can use the charging port to draw on with. Hold on a second. I don't like how some of the shading was carving some of the lighting out a little bit. Unironically, one of the main things that made me focus on doing 3D stuff, which I don't post enough of my 3D art, admittedly, but one thing that made me do 3D is that I was getting frustrated with trying to do shadows and drawing, and I was like, if I could get something that would I could make a model, I would never have to think about perspective or shadows again, which partially true until I realized I wanted to make 3D look like 2D, and then you had to worry about shadows again. So, um, but I don't like how realistic 3D work looks because it just kind of I don't know. It's just like at a certain point, uh, you're going to just run into this kind of this thing where everybody is just going to get so mutually good at doing the 3D stuff uh, that it won't look like it. Or sorry, hold on a second. Basically, number one is your work doesn't really exactly stand out compared to other people's if you're just doing realism. Stylization helps give yourself a unique voice, and your unique voice is your most powerful asset as an artist. And number two is that automated tools are constantly going towards this realism thing. The reason why like all the metaverse projects kind of keep on going towards that direction. I mean, metaverse projects. What am I talking about? I didn't mean metaverse projects. I meant make human. I mean not make human. Sorry. See again, my brain is getting divided on attention, getting its attention divided. So I'm tripping up really bad right now. Oh, soon. What the hell is happening here? Right there, yeah. Fixed it. Cool. Yeah, so what was I saying? Okay, so you have tools like MetaHumans uh from the Unreal people that will let you make realistic humans with an auto-generated tool. There's going to get to a point where everybody is just like, if you're going to want that, you're going to basically get people to just, who are just going to buy the MetaHuman package and just use MetaHumans on their project. So it makes you wonder why you should focus on something that if a machine's going to replace. But something like the Guilty Gear art style, on the other hand, is something that computers aren't going to be able to fully automate. And even if you did get like a generator, because you have to generator tools like Vroid, well, guess what? Vroid only does a very specific anime style. It's not necessarily the Guilty Gear style, and it's definitely more kind of more modern shoujo-y type stuff, not something that's like gonna look like a shonen thing, not something that's like JoJo looking. Say you need to make a JoJo game. Well, JoJo's a very distinctive anime style. It's you couldn't make a JoJo character with Vroid. So, but if you're somebody who's flexible with stylization, you can be like, hey, I can make the JoJo model. And then, people want to have like things that look like JoJo. So then, you got that happening. A lot of like this defined point intricacies that goes into the stuff. It's like, even if we get to a point where part of the stuff does get automated, um, it's going to get to a point where though that, it's like, it's the compute, like when you get like computer trying to replicate like human stuff, you're going to need to get the human in there to kind of make some corrections and tweaks. Like rigging, for example, you have like auto rigging software like Mixmo right now that will like toss a 3D model in there and then tell it where its arms and legs are, and then it will get the character's arms and legs bent. I mean, like it does pretty good at a certain level, but at the same time, also, uh, you're like, if the more you pay attention to this stuff, you're like, oh well, that part's actually a little wrong, so you need to start making manual corrections. Um, these manual corrections, you need to have knowledge of how all this stuff works, and that foundation and understanding isn't going to be able to be replicated. And Engineers are going to always constantly try to also replicate these artistic elements. But the problem though is that an engineer, the engineer brain, which when you do video games, you have to have both minds with it. But the engineer brain um, is more concerned with functionality than aesthetics. So if it works, it works. It doesn't matter if it's kind of kind of maybe is like slightly ugly, as long as it the job it regularly you originally prescribed to it is completed. Um, the best example I go to on this is the self checkout machines at Target versus Walmart in the United States. So self checkout machines in Walmart, you know, it does the same thing as you do at Target. You get the money, it takes the money, and it gives you your change back, and you can leave the store without cops chasing you. Now, the big difference though is that at Walmart, it just kind of grabs your money and it just kind of spits it out, and it makes these like like type noises and stuff. Target, it will it will have a friendlier voice. It will give you a greeting. It will take your money but not yank it from you, and it will hand you the money back, and it'll do a little ding sound when it gives it back to you. Now, so while they both do the same thing, um, people are going to respond more positively to the Target thing. People are going to appreciate Target self checkout over the Walmart one, because the Walmart one is just focused on doing the job. The Target one is, there's the job it's doing, but it's also worry about aesthetics, design, user experience, all that stuff. So when you get to a lot of 3D modeling work on the computer, people who are oftentimes great technical 3D modelers are honestly, and I mean this like in like not like kind of like as an ego thing or anything like that, awful, and like have awful eyes for artwork. Like the amount of people out there that do 3D work that have shitty choices in color palettes like astounds me. Like top stuff, like a lot of 3D work has really bad color palette choices that if you're somebody who worked like a little bit in like video color grading, um or you just like draw periodically in a sketchbook, you would avoid like you would see it a mile away. So why hold on a second. Cool. Okay, there you go. Getting that to work. So um and so basically they have like certain things in 3D that are more artistic and less engineer oriented, like color theory. They drop the ball on, drop the ball hard. Um, but things that they understand that like are more technical that they can get. It's like you know deformations, weight painting, that sort of stuff. Like how to use the tools. Yeah, they can they can run circles around people like this like these types of artists I'm referring to. Yeah, could be top of the industry, but then it comes down to just kind of like more of a creative decision. Yeah. Sorry, my allergies are really, really getting bad right now. I actually feel like I'm tasting blood because of how much my nose itches. It's weird. So I'm probably gonna say this again in my life publicly. So please forgive me for not being the most eloquent the first time, but just know that I am having an allergic attack and I'm just not being smart enough to just take care of it. Um, and you know, I'm just trying my best not to, you know, uh, so, um, okay, let's get back to the shebang. Okay, so divided attention. Let's get this attention undivided in a minute. I'm going to try to make these eyes here. Place these on the highlight. Filter. Blur. Gaussian blur. We're going to jack this up high. But not that high. Like, yay is good. Yay as in, you know, around there, not yay as in Kanye. We will change the colors to now make it yellow. Funny enough, actually, the Coldplay is actually, you know, the city I'm in right now is actually has the Coldplay concert going down the street. So I'm actually hearing a little bit of some of the tracks being played. Just while we're talking. So now, that's looking good, but let's drop it down here. Let's do this instead then. Yeah, I feel like the people color needs to be something different now. First eyes. Yeah, so anyway, the last thing I was saying on the 3D artist rant is that a lot of people, these people are really good because they have like these technical engineering type skills, but they don't have the best creative eyes. And you need a creative eye if you're going to replicate like illustrative art style stuff. So you'll have a lot of these people who will try to do these anime looks, but their anime looks aren't looking as good as, you know, some other people's because they don't. And you can kind of tell who's going to do a good job and who's not by their sketchbook. By these people, you know, who actually, if you're like trying to understand, oh, how do you make a basically like exaggerate the limbs the right amount. You know, it's better if somebody who practices it daily in their book versus somebody who's, you know, trying to figure it out, who doesn't, you know, he's trying to make that creative decision without having to practice and making that decision. That being said, though, a lot of times you can get these people who, you know, if they get guides, like if they, you know, practice and they train, and then you're like, okay, here's a bunch of reference images, go get them. That works right. That can't that's not a terrible process, but it's not the but it's not there we go. We're gonna crop that right now, and then I'm gonna consider this drawing done. I'm probably gonna hop off screen. Sadly, the stream was clickbait. I didn't draw any Sonics, only Bionicle. Oh no, this channel, my channel is doomed for only posting Bionicle. It's not like I haven't been doing that for like how many years now. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of time. But you know, if we get into a place where all these tools are getting made by these people who are trying to make creative decisions, but they don't have the proper training on how to make say creative decisions, it's not gonna. The tools aren't going to be looking as good as people who just naturally know how to do it. Now, it's not going to, you know, not to say somebody might not come along and actually figure out how to, you know, correct it and adjust for it and all of that. I'm not saying like, you know, an artist will never, you know, give the, oh no, get the assistance to get, you know, that, to get, you know, fill in the gaps and fix the problem. But Um, yeah, it's not gonna, but um, that still work for the artist, and you're gonna have to get an artist to do that work. What's going on here? Oh, we'll do this a little bit here. Go on. Yeah, I gotta find that one layer that I can't find anymore. Oh no, that's always fun. Name your layers, kids. Always name your layers. Oh, there we go. All right, there you go. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's toss some other eye candy on top of it, though, just to, sell it. Great. Let's do that. No, actually, let's do a radial. And then my mouse is going wacky. Clip it. Multiply it. Okay. We do it this way. Cool. Actually, let's do this here. Mm-mm. Okay. Now let's. We're gonna do this little trick here to make it look like he's popping out of the panels a little bit. And we're gonna draw. Maybe I need to Maybe I need to learn how to become more Bob Ross like, and maybe I could do a Bob Ross vibe with these things. You know, just be like, oh, pretty little trees, pretty little fucking trees. Let's see. We make this white. Then we do this, and this is what I like to call the outline bump. Alright, so let's just make that black to see what happens if we do it that way. Yeah, the section not looking good this time. That's weird. That looks weird, but we're not in that right now. It looks better if we do it that way. But this might look better if we do it this way. This is not very exciting. Okay, well, I guess we'll consider this mostly done. Probably less so. Let's try to do some diagonals in there. Oh, yeah, that's going to screw up that part, isn't it? Hmm. Okay. No, there's no object. Got it. Let's do this here. Gradient. Let's do this way. There we go. Okay, there we go. Killing the stream now.